This is Metal Mike, and in this episode I talk with the amazing singer of Angel, Frank Dimino. We talk about the new lineup and their new album, Once Upon a Time. Of course, we revisit the classic Angel stuff. You're gonna love it. Check it out. Frank, welcome to the 80's Glam Metalcast, man. How are you?
I'm great. It's good to be here, Mike.
Awesome, man. Well, hey, I'm super excited because I've been on a huge Angel kick. I've been listening to Once Upon a Time and all the old stuff too, man. What do you want to tell everybody about the new album?
And the first few albums were closely aligned, but as we moved forward with everything, we started to develop writing, different kind of writing ideas and stuff, and melding those all things together. Whereas those first few albums, Greg, Punky, and myself wrote most of the stuff. As we got on, and now up to this album, I think we started to develop more as songwriters, and Angel was never a band that pigeonholed themselves in any single category. We're a very high energy band. We always have been. The original band was very high energy, and the band we have now, the new band with the new guys, is very high energy as well. So that's a constant. But the writing is always important to us, and I don't think we put restrictions on ourselves when we write. So we just want to do the best we can writing and bring out the best performances in everyone in the songs that we write.
Yeah, definitely. I feel like with this one and with Risen, you guys have picked up right where you left off, and it fits right with the old stuff in the catalog. What's the secret, man? Because a lot of people can't pull that off.
I don't know. Like I said before, I think that we're very lucky, Funky and I, that we had the original band really clicked when we were all together. We knew it was something special, and to have it happen again for the second time is very unusual. So I think both of us are lucky to have the guys we have. And we keep on doing the same things that we did in the past. Funky and I have written a lot of stuff together, the original stuff, and now we add Danny to the mix. So between the three of us, I think Danny has always been a big fan of Angel. So he gets what we were doing before and what we're doing, what we want to do now. So between the three of us, I think we have a constant a mind to keep ourselves in a certain pocket, but also to branch out as well. So. I'm very grateful for the second time around to be as good as it is the first time around.
You got a favorite song on the new album, or a couple that you really like?
I don't really have a favorite song. I mean, I have there are some things that I really like and love about all the albums, but I don't have any particular favorite song. I think all of the songs we've all put a lot of effort into them, and to say I have a favorite would be very difficult.
Yeah, that's
there's certain ones I really enjoy playing live, and there were certain ones that I certainly enjoyed recording. That I don't think would be able to do live, but but these days you never know. But like I said, each song has a different parallel to it, so that I really enjoy each song for different things, and I don't really have a favorite. I just overall I just love the whole attitude and and what we brought to the table with this last album.
One song I was surprised that it was a bonus track and it wasn't an actual considered to be a track on the album was Daddy's Girl. I thought that song was so catchy, so cool. It looked like it could have been on the Angel album that followed Sinful or something. So good.
Oh yeah. You're probably right. It is kind of a poppy kind of tune, but I think it's we had to make certain decisions because of the length of the whole thing, and we didn't want to. There were times that we said, maybe we should pull 2 or 3 off and save it for maybe the next album or do an EP or something like that. But in the end, we thought, look, we wrote it at this time to be put out at this time. So we put out as much as we could on vinyl, as much as we could fit, and the rest we put as bonus tracks. So.
Awesome. Working with Punky again, it's probably got to be great. Was there ever a time where you thought maybe he was never going to come back to the music business?
It's hard to say, you know what I mean? People come back and people don't come back for a lot of different reasons, Barry and I did it for a while, and a lot of people keep asking me, where's Barry? Where's Barry? Why doesn't he come back? And Barry would love to come back, but there's certain physical things that he has to deal with, and playing drums for all those years, as hard as he played drums, and for as much as he played drums, wears on the body, and it wears on the mind as well. So people make different decisions for different reasons, and I don't question anyone's reason for not doing it or for doing it again. I'm glad Punky decided to do it again, so I'm grateful for that. But and I wish all the guys had. But we move on and we do what we can. I mean, I've always been out there singing and doing whatever I enjoy doing. I've never stopped. So for me, it's hard to fathom stopping and then giving it up and then maybe trying it again. I've always been all in. So for me, it's hard, but I understand. I completely understand everybody's situation and sympathize with everything.
I mean, the new band, the guys you guys got in the band now are just killer. And I got to give credit to Charlie, your keyboardist, because I think he really gets what's needed, on the keyboard for the Angel sound.
Yeah, I think he does too, and I think that it comes out. It's been coming out a little bit more and more. It came out a little bit in Risen, and now it's come out really blossomed in this last one. And if we do another one, which I'm sure we will, I'm sure it'll be even more. So I look forward to the future. I'm optimistic with everything. So I mean, I love the way all the guys play. I think Billy has all the energy that Barry had. He doesn't play exactly the way Barry plays, and that's great. But he has the same kind of way of attacking a song that Barry did. So I appreciate that, and of course Steve's a great bass player. So I mean, like I said, I think Punky and I are very lucky to have a second go at this with such good guys and such good musicians.
Definitely. Now, Frank, there's this channel on YouTube. It's called Mr. Deeds. Have you ever heard of this one?
No.
Okay, so I'll send you a link to it later, but he makes a lot of Angel videos. So he takes your songs and he puts animation and all this stuff to your songs. So the other day I got watching it, and he did one for Got Love If You Want It. And he put on this, how it's got that psychedelic keyboard intro, and he's got all this kind of like tripped out graphics to it. Well, the whole thing was so cool, and it really made me think, like, man, Greg Jafia was like way ahead of his time, man. He was like he did some crazy stuff, basically. Is what I'm
yeah. I think when we first started, it was important for us to try and put both keyboard and guitar together, something that a lot of people weren't doing. We tried to get like the biggest biggest mix between the two together, and we had no bounds. We went right to that big Moog that Greg had, and we tried to get all the information we could, and had held no bounds on anyone. We tried to do experiment as much as we could, and to meld both that and rock and roll together, because I think it was important for us to make keyboards. I think Deep Purple did a great job with organ and guitar, and we tried to do the same thing with synthesizer and guitar and rock and roll.
Yeah. Obviously, this is the 80s Glam Metalcast. The podcast focuses a lot on the later 80s. A lot of people in comments, you see, they say, hey, geez, Angel would have probably done great in the later 80s. What were you thinking when you were watching, like, Motley Crue, Poison, Warrant? I mean, I think a lot of those guys, had a lot of Angel in what they were doing. What did you think of that whole scene?
Yeah, I think you're right. I mean, I know that Nicky used to. He came to a few of our rehearsals and stuff, and we were rehearsing in the same facility. And Tommy used to sit near Barry and watch Barry. So I mean, and it's normal, because it's one of those things where we used to do the same thing when Rainbow and Deep Purple rehearsed next door to us. We used to go over there and watch those guys rehearse. So, I think, you pick things up on different bands that you grow up with and you listen to and you learn and you use it to your advantage. So, I think with Angel, of course, MTV would have been would have made a huge difference for Angel, because we were a very visual band, in that respect. So, that part of it would have been, definitely would have been a difference maker.
What were you doing in the late 80s? Were you trying to get anything going, or what were you doing with music?
Musically, me?
Yeah, in the late 80s.
Late 80s, I was doing all, I went into the studio. I was doing all studio work. I did a lot of stuff with Giorgio Moroder. I did some films. I did made-for-television stuff. So I got all my chops up back to that stuff. I did a lot of different sessions with Jeff Porcaro. Just always in the studio doing stuff, trying to get into that aspect of it, so to keep myself busy, you know.
When Angel ended, well, you were out, like 80, 81 or whatever. Why did you go out of the band? It seems like they were still trying to keep it going. I know they did some demos without you. What happened with the end of Angel?
Well, I think we just kind of like fell apart, and I know that Rudy was the last bass player that we really had, and at that point, we were trying to work it back up together, with the stuff that we had. We had like about 5 or 6 tracks that we had written and recorded, and at that time, Randy was calling Rudy to come and join him with Ozzy, and Rudy had said, I think I'm leaning towards going with Randy because he wants me to go and play with Ozzy. I said, listen, Rudy, you go ahead, because we were in a bad situation contractual wise with Polygram, where Jack Douglas was supposed to do our last album, and that fell apart because Polygram didn't want to honor the contract that we had with Casablanca. They wanted to rework it, which didn't work for us with Jack, and so we were stuck in this situation, and we said, well, let us go and we'll go to Boardwalk with Neil, and they wouldn't let us go from that contract. So we were kind of stuck in an odd situation, and I felt like at that point that we weren't really progressing. So I started to do more studio work and just didn't, kind of like fell out of the whole thing with the rest of the guys, because I was just getting too busy with studio stuff. So it just, it's one of those things where you look at it and you go, what do I do? I mean, I just keep moving forward. Yep. So
one of the last tunes you guys did was, for the Foxes soundtrack. It was kind of like disco rock, very similar to what Kiss did with I Was Made and everything. Do you think you would have went that direction, or do you think you would have got heavied up a little bit? What do you think the last album would have been like?
No, I think the last album, we had like 5 or 6 tracks that we had written, and I think it was like a mixture between White Hot and Sinful. But again, the progressive tracks probably would have come with us being together at rehearsal, and those are always the ones where we kind of build on an idea that we one of us would have and stuff like that. So I don't know, we probably might have had more of that kind of stuff going on as well. But I know the tracks that we had written and recorded, we had demoed, were more in the vein of the last 3, the 3rd, the 4th, and the 5th album.
Now this is going really nerdy. I got a real nerdy question for you. Okay, so when I was a kid, all right, I bought Can You Feel It? I think it was like a compilation that Casablanca put out in like the 80s. Yep. Okay, on that version of Foxes, you say Running with the Foxes, right? And I think that's the version on the soundtrack. But when you go in the anthology, you say 20th Century Foxes. Why is it different? Why is it different?
Okay. Well, we wrote the song 20th Century Foxes, and Giorgio wrote a song for that soundtrack as well. But Neil chose 20th Century Foxes, so Giorgio asked if we could kind of meld a little bit of what he wrote into his version. So we went went back in the studio and did the Running with the Foxes bit.
Okay.
For him to see how he liked it and see if Neil liked that as well. So I mean that's really the reason why the two versions are there. But our version, the original version, is 20th Century Foxes.
Okay, because the craziest thing is I had lost that tape. I don't have that tape anymore, and all I ever had was the anthology. And in my head, I'm like, I could have swore they said something different. And I want to say it was a couple weeks ago. I saw the Foxes soundtrack was on YouTube, and I went to it, and I was like, yeah, that's what I remember. That's how I remember the song.
Yeah, and you know, and I guess that because that track was there because we had done it. And Neil heard it and he said, no, let's just go with the original on 20th Century Foxes. So they had that track there, so that's probably why they put it on the anthology, because it was something different, you know.
Mm-hmm. Now, have you seen the Spinning Gold Neil Bogart movie?
No, I have not.
No, I haven't either. I just wondered if you saw it, and well, what are your thoughts on Neil looking back?
I love Neil. I love working with Neil. Neil was he was a great guy to work with. He was just a genuine guy, and I wish he had been around longer, and I wish we had been able to continue what we were doing, because I know that at some point it would have been successful, more successful than what it was. But it was unfortunate that it went the way it did. But that's the way it goes sometimes.
Yeah. Do you think, sometimes I look back and I look at like maybe what Kiss was doing in 79 and 80, and it's kind of poppy, and then you look at like what AC/DC and Scorpions and Judas Priest was doing. Do you think at Casablanca, like I know everything was kind of disco-y and that was kind of the way they wanted to push some of the rock. Do you think maybe they were out of touch with metal toward the end, or what do you think?
Yeah, maybe I think some of the guys that worked at Casablanca might have been maybe a bit of, I'm not quite sure. I think what it comes down to is they were able to sell disco to radio stations a lot easier, so that became something that they enjoyed doing and wanted to keep on doing. However, Neil was never like that. Yeah, I mean, Neil was out there and looked for talent and wanted talent to succeed. You know what I mean? So whatever it was. I mean, he loved Donna Summer. He loved Kiss. He loved Angel. He loved a lot of different things. It was talent that he loved. You know what I mean? So I can say that for Neil. However, maybe some of the other guys that worked for Neil, were, it becomes. When it becomes easier to get something done and sold, you don't work as hard as getting the other thing done. So that's probably where it was going at that point.
But I love the poppy. I actually love Dynasty by Kiss. I love Synth. I love the poppier stuff anyway. So
yeah, and look, so obviously so do we, because we've done it. You know what I mean? I love metal. I love pop. I love this. I love music. Music is important. It says so much. I mean, and means so much to so many people that I don't categorize it as saying I want to just do this. I want to just do that. I want to do music, and wherever it falls, as far as writing, how you feel at that time, and what's coming out of you at that time, then that's the way you go, because that's what's coming from the heart and what's coming from the soul. So, I don't worry about whether it sounds too metal or too poppy or too this or too that.
Now, I don't want to ask you what your favorite classic Angel album is, because like I said, I know favorites are tough. Well, is there an album that you gravitate to say, man, this is when we were totally in the zone, or this is when we had it right? Is there one album that just stands out to you out of the old catalog?
I can't say the first album we knew backwards and forwards. We wrote all that stuff. We started writing when we were in DC and Bogies. We rehearsed every single day. I mean, this was our job. Whether I drove to rehearsal or Punky would pick me up sometimes, and we would rehearse every day, Monday through Friday, every single day. We would go in like around maybe 1 o'clock and rehearse till about 6, 7 o'clock, and then come home and do the same thing the next day. So when we came over to LA and looking for a producer, looking for a record contract, we were still going over all the stuff. We were rewriting, we were rearranging all the stuff for the first album. So by the time we got into the studio for the first album, we had those bed tracks and almost most of the stuff done within 2 weeks' time, 10 days to 2 weeks' time. It was very quick, and we knew exactly what we wanted to do by that time. So I think back on that, but there was so many things I look back on, and so many things, with the fourth album, with White Hot, I think we were really firing on all cylinders as far as writing, whether it was each other or individually or with other people. It was just a really great creative time for us. We were trying different things in the studio. We learned a lot of things from Eddie Kramer from the third album, recording in the Castle. So by the time we got into Studio C for the fourth album, we had just all this information, and we tried to use it all. And Eddie Leonetti kind of guided us along and never said, no, you can't do that. We just try. When we came up with different ideas, he either took us to a different level with it, or said, okay, let's try that, see if it works. If it works, we'll use it. If it doesn't, we won't. We tried a lot of different things with White Hot when we were in the studio, and so I look at those two albums as really as important albums in our growth period. They were big spurts for us.
Mm-hmm. I think if somebody had never heard Angel and they wanted to, I would say listen to On Earth as It Is in Heaven. I feel like that's the perfect mix of maybe everything that you did right there.
Yeah, I think you're probably right. At that point, it was probably the mixture where we had some progressive stuff and some pop stuff going on, and I think you're probably right.
One thing that comes up all the time, and you probably heard this a million times, is your voice, man. You're pretty blessed to be sounding the way that you're sounding right now. What's the secret of the voice? What's with the voice?
I don't know. I mean, I just try and take care of it as much as I can. I've always been conscious because I took vocal lessons at a very young age. I went to Berklee College of Music when I got out of high school, and there was a lot of trial and error stuff where I did sometimes I did a lot of singing, too much singing, and you got to know when to pull back and when to not pull back. I try to keep myself in my head level where I remember to sing the way I'm supposed to sing. And I think also when I came out here to Vegas and I started teaching again, it did bring me back to where I remembered all the things that I was taught. And now I was teaching this to younger kids and students, so that I thought to myself, listen, I'm teaching them this. This is something that I have to follow as well. So I think it kept me on my toes as well with that. So, I just try and keep up with doing all the things I'm supposed to do vocally, exercising and doing all the things that I'm supposed to do as far as pushing when I can and not pushing it when I'm not supposed to.
Are there any songs that you have to sing now from the old catalog where you say, man, what the hell was I thinking singing this high? Is there any songs that you dread singing?
Of course. Under Suspicion was one where but Under Suspicion, again, like I said, when we did that album, we were experimenting so much, and it was a creative burst for us that, Under Suspicion was something that I thought I wanted to take it to the most extreme I could. I wanted to take it to the tippity top of my range and still be powerful with it. So that was my idea with that. However, I don't know if you could do that every night live. You know what I mean? Some things aren't meant to be live. But who knows? At some point, at some time, maybe we will dust it off and give it a try. I'm not sure. We'll see.
That is a great song, but you're right. I was just listening to it, and it is real high, the verses, yeah.
Yeah, again, like I said, I wanted it to be as extreme as possible, and that's what I went for.
Now, I've noticed at certain times, like I'd say maybe when you guys did that album in the 90s, in the beginning, your voice sounds a little raspier on that album, and I think it sounds a little raspier on your solo album. Is that, like, conscious? Because now I feel like, most recent albums, you seem to be singing more clear like you did, like, in the early days of Angel, so that's conscious.
Yeah, it's absolutely conscious. Yeah, I think that you're going for a certain effect for certain things that and some things work for certain things and other things don't, and like it's with vibrato as well. There was a lot less vibrato in the first couple of albums, or a faster vibrato, and I started to pull back and do a slower vibrato by the time we got to the third album. And it's like it's looking at certain things and using certain techniques for things I feel like are needed for certain songs. So
Now, who's your vocal heroes?
I guess growing up, my vocal hero, one of my main ones was Steve Marriott. And to get to tour with him and sing with him was probably the highlight of my touring time, and it was just such a great learning lesson to be able to sing with him and go toe to toe with him was just it was great for me. But there's a lot of guys I really love. I love for their voice. Some guys I love for their technique. I love Stevie Winwood. I love Paul McCartney. I love his voice. I think I tend to go with voices that are a lot less stiff. I enjoy listening to someone who's able to weave in and out of vocal lines and stuff, and be creative with the melody and stuff. So that's what I tend to listen to for me.
So what do you think? How much longer can Angel go? Is there more music in the tank? How much longer? There's a lot more music in the tank. I think. I think that we have a new energy right now, and I feel really good. I mean, but who knows? Right.
I don't know. If you would ask me after Sinful if there was going to be another album, I would have said, of course. You know what I mean? So yeah. I mean, I always look to the future as something positive, and like I said, the way the band is now and the energy that we have right now, we all enjoy playing with each other live, and that's really the main thing and the most important thing. When you get up there and play in front of an audience and pull it off together live, you develop a camaraderie with each other, and I think that's what's happening with this new version of Angel, and I think it's important for us to do as many live shows as we can, and I know that a lot of people want us to come here and come there, and that's really not up to us. I mean, as far as the band is concerned, we'll play anywhere. It's really up to the promoters to buy the package, and it's up to the clubs to want the package. You know what I mean? I think we have a great booking agent, and he tries to get us in as many places as possible. But it's always a struggle. It's a fight right now. So and especially with all the craziness with with COVID. Yep. People are trying to scratch back to where they were before, and it's tough. But like I said, we're ready to play wherever we can, and that's what keeps the band together and what keeps the band so fresh.
Awesome, man. Well, I'm so glad you guys are back doing stuff. I'm so glad you guys did the two recent albums, Risen and Once Upon a Time, because I'll be honest, a lot of the modern albums from classic bands, for me, don't work, but these ones kick ass, man. I love it.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Well, man,
I appreciate that.
Anything you want to say to your fans before we close?
I want to say, just get out and support music. I mean, and especially when Angel comes to town, come see us. I think right now if you don't see the band right now, it's a shame, because I think there's a time limit for everything, you know, and there will be a time limit for this band as well as any other band, and if you can get yourself out to come see the band now, you really won't regret it. It's just a great show. I mean, you know, it doesn't have all the effects that we had before in the earlier years, but it's just a great show. It's a learning process. It's an enjoyable show. You'll have a great time, and I look forward to seeing as many people as possible out there to come see us when we play.
Awesome. Frank, man, thanks for all the great music. I'm so glad I got to talk to you.
So glad that you have me on, Mike, and I appreciate everything you do.
Well, that was an honor to talk to Frank. Hope you enjoyed it. Rock on!